Seeker. Written by Suzana Thompson. Performed by Heather Firth. Chapter 39. Seeing Justin looking so weak and broken in that hospital bed makes me realize how tenuous our hold on life really is. We take every breath for granted most of the time, but even the next minute is not guaranteed. I understand for the first time why we describe God as Almighty. Justin can't make it out of that bed without him. The rest of us are helpless to change his situation. Mom cries again when she sees Justin's head covered in gauze. But I let go of everything else except my focus on praying for him to get better. I pray with my whole heart for God to heal Justin completely. It's hard not to lose hope when my brother remains unresponsive to us the entire time we are in the room with him. He looks so near to death that I keep glancing at the monitor to make sure his heart is still beating. Mom refuses to leave her child when visiting hours are over that evening. The nurse allows her to stay overnight with him, but Dad and I have to go. I had been lulled into a calm state by the long and tedious hours of sitting by Justin's bedside. But now I'm afraid that I might never see him again after I leave this room. I lean down to gently kiss his cheek. "Stay strong," I whisper, although he doesn't look like he has an ounce of strength left. I'm startled to see Silas when Dad and I descend to the lobby. He looks as weary as we do, and I would think that he was napping in the chair if he wasn't sitting on the edge of the seat. His head is bowed as if in prayer with his eyes closed. "Hey," I say as we approach him. "What are you still doing here? I thought you were going to check into a hotel." The staff would only allow family in to visit Justin, so the suggestion for Silas to go to the hotel had been mine. His eyes open to look at me, and his gaze is concerned. "I thought it best to stay here. How is your brother?" "The same," I tell him somberly. "He's still in a coma." "I will keep praying," he assures me. "Thank you," my dad responds, and I glance at him. He's looking at Silas with a sorrowful expression. "Justin needs all the prayers he can get. Thank you for caring." "Your family is always in my prayers, sir," Silas replies. "God be with you." "God be with you," Dad repeats. His tired eyes shift to me. "Let's go, Mila. You look exhausted." I know I do, because I saw my face in the restroom mirror. I've done nothing but sit around all day, but the stress has worn me down. Dad doesn't look any better, and neither does Silas. He's kept vigil here all these hours, too. And I feel that connection with him, like he's in this with us. I want to stay here, I suddenly decide. You go home, Dad. "You need to sleep," he protests. "Your mother will call us if there's any change, but the doctor said it could be weeks before Justin wakes up." "Weeks," I exclaim in dismay. "Or days," he amends unconvincingly. I can tell that they don't think it will be days, and I slump with weariness. I don't want to sleep because of my fear of Justin slipping away overnight, but I'm so tired and craving the oblivion of sleep. I feel pathetic for already needing a break from this after only one day. How will I possibly survive weeks of this waiting and uncertainty? I thought that I had unfailing dedication to my family and that they could depend on me in any situation. In the movies, they show people keeping vigil over their loved ones all night and dozing in chairs by their bedsides. I became so stiff and uncomfortable in that chair and had to keep getting up to stretch my legs. So I can't imagine sleeping in it all night. They rolled in a narrow bed for my mom to sleep on. which I think is actually one of those gurneys they use to transport patients through the hospital. Just a little longer, I plead with Dad. Silas will drive me home. It shows how exhausted Dad is that he doesn't argue with me about my sudden change of plans. Okay, he agrees. But don't be too long. You need to sleep. Is that okay? I belatedly ask Silas after Dad leaves. Can you drive me home later? Of course, he assures me. Would you like some coffee? I'm not usually a coffee drinker, but I could use the caffeine right now. Yeah, that would be great, thanks. I begin to walk with him before I realize that I don't know where we're going. Do you know where they have coffee? I question. In the cafeteria, he answers. It's in the basement. His reply is an unpleasant reminder of how he attained this familiarity with the hospital, and why he used to frequent it so often. There is an even worse remnant of his former existence standing near the elevators. No! I yell in panic as I sprint forward. The blonde version of death quickly disappears before I can reach him. I halt and look wildly around before spotting him standing a short distance behind Silas. You're not taking his life force, I shout. What is happening? Silas asks worriedly. The blonde reaper looks at him in distaste. I am not here for his life force. It hadn't occurred to me that he could be here for Silas. I meant my brother, I tell the reaper. I am not here for your brother, he states. I had forgotten how terribly strained and ancient their voices sound. It's strange to hear a voice like that coming out of the mouth of someone who looks so young. I start to step closer to him, but he backs away as if afraid of me. Stay where you are, he says. Do not touch me. Why? I ask in surprise. What have you done to me? He demands as his blue eyes spark with emotion. I haven't done anything, I answer in bewilderment. You changed him. He slowly lifts his arm to point his finger at Silas. Now you have tainted me. Tainted, I repeat as I stare at him. What are you talking about? His expression reveals his frustration even if his monotone voice doesn't alter. I am distracted from my purpose by a human. Me? I inquire in dismay. Not you, but it began after you saw me, he replies. Reverse what you have done. Mila. Silas gets my attention by placing his hand on my arm. His face is ashen, and his eyes are filled with anguish. Pray with me for God to give you more time. What? I question him with confusion. Tell him you are not dying, the Reaper says. I realize that Silas has misunderstood what he heard from my side of the conversation with the Reaper. I'm not dying. That's not why he's here. I return my attention to the blonde Reaper. Why are you here? Stop the change you have begun in me, he insists, with the force of his angry gaze making up for the strength lacking in his dry, cracked voice. I respond in wonder to the realization that has eluded me until now. You're becoming human. Fear is clearly evident in his eyes. No, he denies. You will not do this to me. I am not doing anything, I protest. You saw me, and now another sees me, he tells me. I turn to look at Silas beside me. Do you see him? Who is here? He questions. Is it Abel? No, I answer. It's the one who was there before my teacher died. I turn back to face the Reaper again. Who sees you? "A girl," he replies. "Only her? Is it someone like me?" I inquire excitedly. "Who is she? I want to meet her." His gaze hardens. "I want you to change me back to how I was before you touched me." I regard him quizzically. "I touched you?" "You pushed me aside in your haste to reach that woman," he reminds me. I had been too distracted to remember that, but a vague memory of it surfaces in my mind when he mentions it. "Did I leave a mark on you?" I ask and feel troubled at the thought. "No," he says. "There is no mark, but you made me visible to Harper. You must restore me to my previous state. Only the dying should see me." I want more information on this girl Harper. "She wasn't able to see you before I touched you?" "I had never been in her presence before," he explains. "But no one was ever able to see me before you touched me." "Except me," I remind him. "I was able to see you, so maybe she's like me. Can she touch you too?" The look in his eyes changes, and he shifts his gaze away from me. "She can." My excitement builds over this development. She must be like me. Did her touch leave a mark on your skin? Maybe it only happens when it's faded. "No," he answers. "None that can be seen." I'm puzzled by what kind of unseen marks she could have left on him. But I'm much more interested in finding another person like me. "What's her last name? Where does she live?" He responds to my enthusiasm with icy anger in his cold gaze. "Change me back." "I don't think I did anything," I tell him. "She would have been able to see you anyway if she's like me." "You changed him." He jerks his head in Silas's direction. I'm still not sure how that happened and if it was my doing, but I hazard a guess about what is happening to this Reaper. "Maybe Harper is changing you." He stares at me, and I plead with him to tell me who Harper is. He disappears as I'm still speaking. "Hey!" I call out, but he is gone. I desperately want to meet Harper, but I don't know how to find her. I'm too excited to be tired, and I no longer need coffee. I tell Silas everything that the blonde Reaper said, and he agrees with me that Harper might be like me. He brings up the one thing that I hadn't thought of, though. "He didn't sense her seeking him," Silas says. "He thought that you had rendered him visible to her." "He didn't say that I was seeking him either," I remark as I contemplate what this means. "I think it was merely a coincidence that you saw him first," he states. "Harper would have seen him regardless of you." I believe this too. The Reaper is mistaken about my role in the changes he is experiencing. None of it has anything to do with me, but I would still like to meet Harper since she is the only person I know of who is like me. My thoughts return to Justin as soon as a nurse steps out of the elevator. The Reaper had distracted me from what was most important. I can't believe that I forgot about my brother even for a moment. I quickly check my phone, but Mom didn't call me. That means there has been no change, which is a relief in one way, but it also means that there has been no improvement in Justin's condition. All the excitement that I just experienced fades away. What does it matter if I've discovered another person like me? It can't help Justin. What difference does it make if I can see the supernatural if I can't save my brother? I know that only God can save him, and I surrender everything to him. If you just heal Justin, I pray, I will follow you for the rest of my life. Just give me back my brother. It's a simple prayer, but I pray with complete sincerity. My ringtone jolts me out of my peaceful prayers, and I grab my phone to see Mom calling me. My heart is pounding as I answer. "Mila," she exclaims. "It's a miracle."